Yes, hi everyone. This morning I wanted to talk to you regarding the this famous painting by Jacques-Louis David, The Death of Socrates. And the this is one of the most famous paintings painted by Jacques-Louis David, who is a French painter. He was a prolific painter. He painted many different stuff, many different paintings, including some of the known French nobility. He was active participant in French Revolution, but I'm not going to say too much about that. He's an interesting character, at least to say, interesting painter and artist, yet very talented. Um, what I want to discuss today is the death of Socrates. Um, what Jacques-Louis David here is he's getting it from dialogues that Plato wrote about Socrates. And, and this scene here depicts the last moments of Socrates. So Socrates has been sent to be um, either he was found guilty by Athens and Athenians that he's been corrupting or that he's been teaching unorthodox ways um, about, especially with the youth. Like he was accused of corrupting the youth, and the sentence was him end up he used to be executed by Athenian. He's to drink poison, which is he faces a death penalty. But they also gave him an option. He could recant what he's done, or he can go in exile. Now, what Socrates does, he accepts their death penalty. In fact, he says, "This is my country. This is where I lived. This is my city. This is my state." And the democracy, the people have ruled against me, and I'm going to take and drink the poison, which is Hamlet. And this is the scene that shows how Socrates um, faces the last days of his last few moments or minutes of his life. And these are all his students, because we know he was a teacher, and he would sit at a corner, and he would also, what we know today is a Socratic method. But what I want to discuss here is ultimately is this painting. This painting is fascinating. As you can see, this is Socrates right here in the middle. These are all his students. This is also one student who is um, in charge of giving Socrates the poison. And this is where the Socrates has to take the poison and drink it. And we can see a lot of this is a fascinating painting. And this is how this student or his pupil is, he can face it. He's such a pain and agony as they're trying to convince Socrates not to drink the poison. And this is a fascinating painting scene, the way it's captured by Jacques-Louis David. And as you can see here, I believe this might be, and this is my interpretation of this painting is based on Metropolitan Museum of Art's description and all that. But I am also putting some my own interpretations based on Socratic philosophy. And so this is here. I believe this could be a Plato, which is his student. He's also his student, but he's the one who also wrote a lot what Socrates has said and what he has done, like especially Plato's Republic. This is where we know all the dialogues and everything. But as we can see, the shackles here, as Socrates has been released out of it, but then we also see a little paint here on his foot, as you can see there. He was released. He's free to recant, meaning he can leave the state, or he can say, well, I made a mistake, what I was teaching, and the Athenians would forgive him, which Athenians were hoping he would do. But instead, he takes the poison, he drinks, and as we can see, the despair and the agony that the students are going through because he decided to drink this poison. And it is very interesting, as you can see, that one of the students he's holding is giving him the support, but what Socrates here, he is pointing to the sky, and that could be interpreted either, the soul never dies, I am going to heaven, or, I am the Almighty. But you can see that Socrates is an old man, yet he's being projected as this muscular figure, which it doesn't really, because at that age, at least the way he was, at the age that he was in, that the shape that Jacques-Louis David portrays here is, I believe, exaggerated, because look at the muscles on Socrates, the six-pack, these muscles here, and all that. And well, we can understand maybe the students to be muscular, but this student is much younger than Socrates, and yet Socrates is in the same shape as this young pupil here. And we can see some of the people are living, and this structure, this setting here, it seems like it's a prison, yet the shackles have been removed. Socrates is free to go, yet he decides to go along with the way he was sentenced to be executed. And I don't know, we can, there's many ways we can interpret this. Is the Socrates drinking the poison because he is trying to teach that ultimately, no matter what, you have to obey the law, whether it's just or unjust, or you have to, and you have to go because this is where you live. This is the people that created this law and all that. So we can talk about whether the trial was fair or unfair. But for this painting, for this video, I would like to focus on the contrast. And you can see here, as you zoom in, as I zoom in here, and you can see Jacques-Louis David, he's signed it here, where I believe Plato is sitting. And you can see that Plato is not, he's like at the scene, but he's not part of the scene. The way his hands are folded, and he's just looking away, that his favorite teacher has decided to take the course, while others are covering their faces in despair. They're facing so much agony as Socrates decides to end his own life. And we can see here a scroll that it's written. We can interpret that as, a sentence that has been read, and this is the sentencing, this is the punishment for Socrates. But yet this fascinating chain that he's been unshackled, and we can see the chain goes all the way down to here, and it's like he was shackled here, and then the chain goes there all the way around to the musical instrument that's also known as lyre. Not as a lyre, but as a Lyre. And in one of the dialogues, and this is the reference to one of the dialogues where they talk about whether this instrument embodies the human body, where Socrates and his students discuss that. This is an interesting here, as we can see, furthermore, the light that goes on the Plato here, and then the light that goes on Socrates here, it just illuminates the figures and brings it to light, the agony, the pain, what it means to face the ultimate, that is the ultimate sacrifice that Socrates is making here, despite the pleadings from his students, despite the pleadings even of Athens' government saying, hey, don't drink the poison, you should leave, and all that. And as we can see, some people are already leaving. The old folk here is leaving. There's another young man who is in agony, and this one is simply just waving and saying goodbye as last moments. And this one, he's just facing the wall, He's in very despair. And as you can see here, that very few people are actually, there's only one. Maybe let's zoom in on this one and see if they are. So there's two people who are actually looking at the Socrates. Everyone else is just in agony. They cannot face Socrates, but just these two are looking. And he's like, it looks like on a face that he might be mad with Socrates. He might be upset because of facial expression. It shows the seriousness of the situation and the gravity of Socrates' decision. This one is also Socrates. This old man here, he seems like he's facing and looking at the Socrates too, and they're like, and we can see the pressing force, the muscles that shows the pressing force on Socrates, that they are in such a despair, and agony, and yet Socrates is just presuming that it sounds like he wants to be free from the imposition of the society, the demands of the society. But at the same time, he's leaving the society as he's departing. He's dying, and these are his last few agonizing moments. And as we can see here, the shoes, some of them are most of them are barefoot, but this one here, it seems like it has some kind of socks on, or and everything, and everyone else is pretty much Socrates is barefooted. And then we can see here even maybe Plato, but Plato has something wrapped around his legs here, which is just a fascinating work by Jacques-Louis David to capture the last moments of Socrates and to show how how agonizing it is for Socrates to face this decision. But it seems like Socrates might be the most bravest, because he's just saying, I'm going in. Is he trying to portray the immortality of the soul, or is he trying to say, I am strong, I'm powerful, but everyone else is around him is kind of falling apart, except the Plato. Plato is just away from the scene. So literally only two people are kind of part of with the Socrates. They're facing him. Everyone else is just kind of facing the other way, or is looking at something else. Either they cannot face what the Socrates is doing. And imagine the kind of pain that the student is, that he has to give to his favorite teacher a poison to drink. What is very interesting is that, what is the message and what is the theme? And we can say a few themes is that, sacrifice and immortality. What is it that we are learning from this painting, or from what the Plato is portraying, and what David is actually painting here, is that is there such a thing as immortality, or is there such a thing as just state? Is Socrates, another question is that, is Socrates being selfish by taking his own life? These are all the questions that we can look and answer and all that. But yet I just believe that this is a fascinating scene, and it shows a lot of interesting themes here, like being free yet being bound. He's free, but yet being free from the shackles, from that physical restraint, but yet he's not free yet. It seems like he wants to face that freedom by finally deciding to end his own life, and not to end his own life, but he's trying to say, this is the state, what the state wants me to do, and I'm going to do what the state is telling me to do. That is ending my life and drinking poison. And he's ultimately obeying the law. And this is also the question, rule of the law, and how far the rule of the law should be followed to the letter of the law, and being in following with it, and going on with carrying on the execution. I will try to connect this to allegory of the cave, also by the Plato's Republic, because I believe there's some connections here. There's also, questions about Socrates' existence, and this is where the existence as a liberation, he's liberated physically. Now he wants to be either liberated mentally and go and become part of the universe, or part of the spirituality, as a spiritual world, if such thing exists, as a life after death. And that's all I have to say about this one. It's a fascinating painting. This image is from Metropolitan Museum of Art, and a lot of my references in talking about it regards its connection to the Metropolitan